Don't take this the wrong way, but you sound like a left-wing nutbar. If you want to shut down every corporation, every bank, where are you going to get a job? Where are you going to work? Where's the economy going to go?
In the end, it's only about the money all of the time. And they said it's time to shut you down and crush you like the cockroach you are.
When you make a claim or you suggest an investment, why shouldn't it be challenged by someone like me? I think that's important that we have that dialogue. And by the way, I applaud the CBC to put someone like me who's right of Attila the Hun on there, because it used to be so left-wing, I didn't even listen to it. Now there's a balance, and I think it's grown a huge audience as a result. I work with Amanda Lang. I mean, she's the most attractive communist on TV. I'm doing a public service protecting us from her ideals.
It's Kevin O'Leary, who you can hear, obviously, 4 o'clock, just before... at 4:50, just before 5 o'clock with John Tory, each and every weekday on NewsTalk 1010. He is, I mean, everybody says, the CBC is so left-wing, they say they're so left-wing. I don't know, think about the two most popular people in this country who might be on the right. Don Cherry, Kevin O'Leary. What station are they on? CBC. Communists, though, they want to get rid of Kevin O'Leary. They want him fired off the CBC. And we're joined right now by Drew Garvie, who's the co-editor of Rebel Youth Magazine, a socialist magazine. Drew, thanks for your time.
Thank you, Jim, for having me on.
Why do you want him fired?
Well, just a bit of background on Kevin O'Leary. He's on the Lang and O'Leary exchange as well as the Dragon's Den on CBC.
Yep.
And we think the broader context is important here. We're in a time of austerity, and the kind of comments that he's putting forward are, you heard him in the introduction calling himself right of the Attila the Hun, self-described right of Attila the Hun. So we think that he's putting out a socially destructive message in a very dangerous time that our country and the world is facing. We think that he shouldn't be on a public broadcaster that whose mandate is to promote the public interest. And we think that his kind of general ideology of money over everything and greed is good is being used as, it's propping up a destructive side of the debate that we're having in this country about the future the future for the country and the world.
Drew Garvie is with us. He is the co-editor of Rebel Youth Magazine, and communists here in this country are demanding that Kevin O'Leary be fired from the CBC. Some people might find the term the public interest a little insulting. Why do you get to decide what the public interest is?
Well, I don't personally get to decide what the public interest is, but I think it's pretty obvious that the kind of things that you heard him say in the beginning, things like unions are sheer evil, and unions themselves are born out of evil. They must be destroyed with evil. And if at one point he said that if he was elected prime minister for 15 minutes, he would make unions illegal, and anyone who remains in a union would be thrown in jail. These kind of things are...
But Drew, you kind of sound like some extreme people who, maybe they're not extreme, but Sun Television would think that all of the CBC is left-wing, and they don't reflect them either, so they should be off the air, and they shouldn't receive any of our public money. Why are you any different than some of the people who want the CBC entirely taken off the air?
Well, because we don't want the CBC taken off the air.
But they want them taken off the air because of their left-wing ideology and the fact that they are brainwashing people with someone else's tax money, and they might be center-right. Why should you be able to do that?
Well, it's not about you're mistaking the argument for freedom of speech, which freedom of speech, sure, but the question is, who has a monopoly on the public discourse in this country? Private broadcasters make up the majority of the media. Those are corporately owned by a very small number of corporations. Mr. O'Leary and the likes of, you mentioned that CBC is being called left-wing. Well, now they have O'Leary, Don Cherry, Rex Murphy. These are all right-wing commentators. And so I think the reality shows that there is an increasing slide to the right on our public broadcaster.
But why shouldn't the public broadcaster reflect what is popular? I'm not sure how the Lang-O'Leary exchange does. It's been bounced around in time slots, leading me to believe that it might not be doing fantastic, but certainly Don Cherry goes through the roof. I mean, why shouldn't the tax dollars of people who lean right be reflected too? I mean, that's my only problem with the CBC. I think that Kevin O'Leary should be on there, but certainly somebody like Amanda Lang should be the check to balance things out, and I think she does a pretty good job.
Well, I think I would disagree with Mr. O'Leary that Amanda Lang is a communist.
Do you not think that Kevin O'Leary, more times than not, comes off as a character more than somebody who might entirely believe everything that he says? Because I do.
I mean, he's got a shtick, that's for sure. But the point is that he takes up a big chunk of time on CBC, on the public broadcaster, and he says some really damaging things. Some things that when you put it into the...
Damaging to who? There might be plenty of, thousands of entrepreneurs out there who would listen to what he says and say, you know what, I can make money off of that advice. It's not for everyone, but neither is everything on TV. And that's to assume
if you look at his social commentary, let's put it into context of what's going on in this province, for example. We have Bill 115 that took away the collective bargaining rights of teachers. We've got Hudak running on basically bringing in right to work legislation into this province. So there's a lot of union bashing, and also at the time that he said he would make unions illegal if he was prime minister and throw everybody in jail. This was at a time when Canada was negotiating a free trade deal with Colombia, which actually does murder a lot of trade unionists each year. So these are the kind of messages that, put into the broader context, do a lot of damage, and there is an attack on working people in this province.
But you're making it sound like communists want to control the media and perhaps, only have their own message coming out of the radio. I mean...
No. I think we're actually for a democratic media, a truly democratic media. So this involves expanding public funding to the CBC, so they're not relying on corporate advertising dollars. And I think corporate advertising goes towards programs that reflect their interests, which would include Kevin O'Leary.
Drew, I've got to run along, and I thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Jim.
Co-editor of Rebel Youth magazine. That's Drew Garvie. Should Kevin O'Leary be taken off the CBC? Maybe it's the only thing you watch on the station. 16 minutes after 2 o'clock. In-depth radio in Toronto, NewsTalk 1010. Time saver traffic.